calculations are correct, when this baby hits 88 miles per hour, you're gonna see some serious shit.
How amazed were you to see your roadster up there with Starman just cruising along with the Blue Planet? And how long will we be getting live views, do you think, from the car?
Well, I think it looks so ridiculous and impossible. And you can tell it's real because it looks so fake, honestly.
Just take a hit.
The thermal displacement occurred exactly 1:20 a.m. in 0 seconds!
Filled up
Jesus Christ.
Clouds.
Jesus Christ, Doc, you disintegrated Einstein.
Calm down, Marty, I didn't disintegrate anything. The molecular structure of both Einstein and the car are completely intact.
Where the hell are they?
The appropriate question is, when the hell are they? You see, Einstein has just become the world's first time traveler. I step here into the future.
Mars was the Roman god of war. His counterpart in Greek mythology was Ares. But Mars' prestige in Rome was far greater than that of his counterpart in ancient Greece. Mars was the son of Jupiter and Juno, the gods who reigned supreme over the universe. The Roman god of war was usually depicted as a mature, strong, bearded man. His appearance was more majestic than that of Ares, usually depicted as a young, impulsive god. The Roman god roamed the battlefields alongside the demons Virtus and Honor. He favored those who fought with honor. The god Ares was accompanied by his sons Phobos and Deimos, entities representing fear and terror. While Ares was a despised god among the others in Olympus, being hardly worshipped among men due to his violent and cruel nature, Mars was revered in Rome. According to Roman myths, he was the father of the twins Romulus and Remus. The former was the founder of the city of Rome. Mars had Venus as a lover, the goddess of love, equivalent to the goddess of Aphrodite in Greek mythology. In early Roman cults, Mars was essentially an agricultural deity. But, according to Roman society, he gradually developed and expanded territorially through conquests. The role of the god also changed over time, and his warlike attributes became more valued. The god came to be seen as a warrior and protected the Romans in their conquests.
The United States will once again consider itself a growing nation, one that increases our wealth, expands our territory, builds our cities, raises our expectations, and carries our flag into new and beautiful horizons. And we will pursue our manifest destiny into the stars, launching American astronauts to plant the stars and stripes on the planet Mars.
From a B-52 or a B-1's perspective, this is what the crew is going to be staring at. This is what a B-2 crew would be staring at. Basically, the B-2 will be able to come into the Soviet Union and go through the Soviet Union without being encountered by any Soviet radar system, and I don't have anything else now or on the horizon that can do that besides the cruise.
Faced with the prospect that American air power could soon become obsolete, 40 years ago, the United States set out to engineer the most formidable bomber in existence. This is the story of the B-2 Spirit.
Who is the king of the spear? Roman Reigns has had some devastating spears since his WWE debut. There's definitely an argument to be made for the tribal chief. Then there's the rated R superstar Edge, who probably has the most iconic spears in the business. Goldberg was also known to have a powerful spear that sent wrestlers to different dimensions. This man literally destroyed Christian in this one. Rhino's gore was one of the best spears I've seen. It was effective and looked extremely impactful. Braun Breaker is also entering the chat even though he's a rookie, so I'll ask again.
The day I went missing was the day I died. 5 years in hell forged me into a weapon, which I used to honor a vow I made to my father, who sacrificed his life for mine. In his final moments, he told me the truth, that our family's wealth had been built on the suffering of others, that he failed our city, and that it was up to me to save it and right his wrongs. But to do that without endangering the people closest to me, I have to be someone else. I have to be something else.
There's Trump, the tip of the spear.
The President President of the United States,
Commander-in-Chief. It's more than just a job. Since taking office, President Donald Trump has rebuilt our military, repaired a broken VA, and eliminated Soleimani, al-Baghdadi, ISIS, the world's deadliest terrorists brought to justice. Today, America is safer and stronger than ever. Because to President Trump, it's more than just a job. It's a sworn duty to keep America safe.
Well, the rest of the chiefs arrived back at KCI around 6 o'clock tonight to a handful of dignitaries like the mayor to welcome them home out there on the tarmac.
But some fans have figured out after 3 Super Bowl championships and 5 seasons, the best place to welcome the team home is actually out at Arrowhead. That's where Dave DeMarco is live tonight. Dave.
And it is always a treat to see Coach Andy Reid hoisting that Lombardi trophy high. And it certainly doesn't get old for fans that are now making this a bit of a tradition.
For the third time since 2020, the Forrest family were at Arrowhead's Gate 5, watching and waiting.
Diehard Chiefs fans for life, so we want to get out here and set them on the right path too. We figure this is a way, it's not really crowded up here, so everybody can come up here and our own little personal wave home, welcome the boys home.
For others, it was a spur-of-the-moment decision.
We watched them land on the airplane, so we were at home. I said, let's go to the stadium and watch them come into the stadium on the bus. So we got here just in time.
In time to see a police escort and a parade of buses on their way into Arrowhead. There were cheers and a few honks. And sitting in the front seat holding the Lombardi trophy, Coach Andy Reid. They threw on the lights for just a moment for fans to catch a glimpse in all its glory.
Yeah, we saw Andy Reid on the first bus with the trophy.
As the buses made it back to the team's facility, Big Red exited with the trophy and let players and staff get one more look at it before Wednesday's parade. We spotted a few players recording the scene and waving to the fans that have made it a tradition to make sure the Chiefs know just from the moment they arrive how much each Super Bowl means to Chiefs Kingdom.
You know we can get away because I'm calling your name. Every day I feel this pain that you just know.
Tell me, Mars, what do you see a timing for actually sending humans to Mars? Is there a schedule, and when would you see that happening?
Well, I think as your bill directed, it'll be approximately in the 2030s. As I mentioned, we actually are building hardware to test the new heavy launch vehicle, and this vehicle will take us further than we've ever been away from this planet. So, unfortunately, spaceflight takes a lot of time and money, so getting there will require some international cooperation to get it to be a planet-wide approach in order to make it successful, just because it is a very expensive endeavor, but it is so worthwhile doing.
Well, we want to try and do it during my first term, or at worst during my second term, so we'll have to speed that up a little bit, okay?
We'll do our best.
This is the Lord's gate. Let us enter through it and obtain mercy and forgiveness.
And Mar-a-Lago is a National Historic Landmark on Palm Beach, and former President Donald Trump hosted several world leaders at the resort during his presidency. Our Caroline Cole's joining us now, looking at the history of this exclusive property. Caroline?
Tiffany, good afternoon to you. As news of the FBI raid here at Mar-a-Lago continues to spread, a lot of people are taking a deep look into what exactly is Mar-a-Lago and the history associated with it. It is a golf club. It's also a members-only club, and it has a lot of history dating all the way back to 1920. That's when the club was originally built. In addition to that, Trump himself bought Mar-a-Lago back in 1985 for approximately $10 million. It's now worth 16 times what Trump paid for it. And a lot of people have been invited here, including notable politicians. Keep in mind that this most recent FBI raid is all a part of an investigation to the handling of presidential documents, including classified documents that could have been brought here by the president himself. But this is not the first time that Mar-a-Lago and private documents have been in the headlines. It was back in 2017 when Trump dealt with North Korea's missile launch here at Mar-a-Lago instead of at the Situation Room. That was a meeting that was held in the open in front of members here at the club, and sensitive documents were out in the open. Now, earlier this year, the National Archives collected 15 boxes of White House documents here at Mar-a-Lago. Some of those documents were classified. And now the question on so many people's minds is, what exactly is the FBI looking for, and what will they find? Reporting here in Palm Beach, I'm Caroline Coles for WPBF 25 News.
President Trump, who attended Fordham, a Jesuit university, came face-to-face today with the first Jesuit pope. The rest is history.
The shield of Mars was kept in the Roman Forum under the care of priests. Mars was a much worshipped god in Rome, After each victory of the legions, the Romans honored the god with feasts in his honor. Emperor Octavian Augustus presented Mars as an avenging god, justifying his persecution of the senators who murdered Julius Caesar, who was his uncle and adoptive father. Although his cult as god of war grew in importance, Mars never ceased his role as an agrarian deity. As protector of the crops, he was honored, and the month of March was consecrated in his honor. The name of this month originates from the name Mars, and at that time, it was the first month of the year and the beginning of spring. With the end of winter, the Roman legions were able to march under the god's protection towards glory. On March 14th, the city of Rome was adorned for the great festival that took place on the field of Mars. Religious, cultural, and sporting events were celebrated there in honor of the god. The god was the second most important of the Roman pantheon, second only to Jupiter, equivalent to Zeus. Due to its blood-red color, the planet Mars was named after this god, and the protector of Rome was thus eternalized among the stars.
You know what, sometimes what you leave out of a story is even more interesting than what you leave in. That happened when we were in Oxford, Maryland. Learned that the pride of that old town was one Robert Morris Jr., the financier of the American Revolution. Years ago, we used to go down to the county library to get a picture of a bird like that, but now we just use the internet. That's where I found this picture here. Now, the caption said it was a shot of the Greek god Mercury handing a bag of loot to Robert Morris, the financier of the American Revolution. Well, that's just a tiny part of a much bigger picture called the apotheosis of Washington. Now, apotheosis is a Greek word that means to make divine. In other words, this painting shows George Washington becoming a god. Now, I never knew that happened. But there it is for all to see, painted under the most famous dome in the whole country, maybe the whole world, the United States Capitol. Now, the most interesting part of this particular heaven are the folks that live in it. Now, you'd expect to see Moses and Abraham and Ezekiel and that crowd hanging around, but not a single fella from the Bible's up there. Now, Minerva, the Roman goddess of crafts and wisdom, is shown delivering an electrical generator and batteries and a printing press to Benjamin Franklin, Samuel Morse, and Robert Fulton. And Neptune, the Roman sea god, and Venus, the goddess of love, are shown helping to lay the transatlantic telegraph cable. I'll bet you they were a big help. Now, there's some other gods, but not a single prophet, apostle, or even a lower archangel in the whole 4,500 square feet. All I know is what I read on the internet, but you hear a lot of talk these days about the religious beliefs of our founding fathers. Now, those boys may have been as devout as saints. We'll never know. One thing's for sure, you'd never tell by looking at Capitol Dome.
You're looking at a newfangled robot, roughing out something old. To watch the Italian-made robot grind away is mesmerizing. To think all this used to be done by hand is amazing.
It takes a lot less time. That's probably 2 months of work for a guy, whereas, Mike can rough this out in a week.
On this day, the shaping is being done by this tool, crusted with industrial-grade diamonds. But this is not just any robot, and not just any stone. It has a higher calling. The robot arm is digging into this block of Indiana limestone to recreate the finishing flourish that will go up there, atop the Washington National Cathedral. It's called a finial, from Latin finis, meaning end, a feature of Gothic architecture dating back centuries at the tip-top of a pinnacle or spire. But being the last bit of stone between earth and heaven, 301 feet up,
the National Cathedral damaged,
is not the best place to be when a 5.8 magnitude earthquake strikes, which happened August 23, 2011.
Stonemasons in hard hats got a first-hand look at the damage.
Of all the pieces that fell off the cathedral that day, most were finials.
And it makes sense.
Joe Alonzo is the head stonemason at the National Cathedral.
All that energy during the earthquake was traveling upward, and the pinnacles were shaking and rotating.
$38 million in damage, most from all that shaking and falling. 3 of the 4 finials atop the central tower were destroyed. 1 survived. A 3D scan was made, a scan used to then program the stone-cutting robot, telling it where to go, to make the finial emerging in front of our camera, under the watch of Mike Kennedy at Easy Stone in Vienna, Virginia. The water helps reduce dust.
Also to cool and lubricate the bit so that it doesn't get too hot. If it gets too hot, it'll actually burn the diamonds off.
But this isn't just a story about a robot. It's a journey into an ancient profession that may disappear. And it's a journey up to the highest point in Washington.
Napoleon, Alexander the Great, Donald Trump, we're all cut from the same cloth.
To order, brethren, to receive the most worshipful, the Grand Master.
Indeed, Brother Washington. All Freemasons meet as equals, and we have an opportunity to create a nation in the very essence of Masonic morality. It would be wonderfully symbolic, don't you think?
You'll be wanting to put the all-seeing eye on our banknotes next.
You think I'm taking it a bit far?
Please don't ask me questions like that, Brother Franklin. You know I cannot tell a lie.
Oh, come on, Brother Washington. Everybody lies occasionally, surely, especially politicians.
Not me. Not even so much as an alternative fact.
But we must all be aware of fake news.
The people must be free to think what they like as well. We can have no thought police in our new society. The foundation stone of our new nation built on all those principles that we hold dear.
The plans for our new capital city already have a very Masonic feel to them, yeah.
Candidate for initiation into the order, I'm giving him a little introduction into some of our mysteries. These two gentlemen are founding an entire nation built on our principles.
We have great promises for our new nation. You know, I wonder if other presidents after me will also be Freemasons.
Many will be. And Freemasonry will become embedded in the American culture. And the eye will appear on the banknotes.
Oh, God.
These principles will be honored with a gift from your French brethren. A gift that will be a welcoming beacon to the poor and oppressed.
This is the statue we are giving you.
It's a bit small, isn't it?
Oh, this is a maquette. The real thing is bigger. Much, much bigger.
America will produce a great many great Americans from many different walks of life and many different fields, and many will be Masons. Sportsmen, actors, writers, soldiers, filmmakers, businessmen, inventors, astronauts.
What on earth is an astronaut?
No, they're not.
I don't follow.
Well, they're not on Earth, they're in space. In fact, Brother Buzz Aldrin was the second man to walk upon the surface of the moon.
That's the best thing I've heard this evening.
What, that a Mason walked on the moon?
Man on the moon. Amazing.
Nobody has a monopoly on what is a very hard problem. But I don't have much patience for anyone who denies that this challenge is real. We don't have time for a meeting of the Flat Earth Society. Flat Earth Society,
If I say that the world is round and someone else says it's flat, that's worth reporting. But you might also want to report on a bunch of scientific evidence that seems to support the notion that the world is round.
Atlantis on its way.
For the next 5 years at least, NASA will be out of the business of launching astronauts into space.
U.S. astronauts are going to be forced to hitch rides on Russian Soyuz rockets to and from the International Space Station at more than $50 million a seat.
Good afternoon, everybody.
The administration is promising to build a new rocket for deep space exploration. And while a manned mission to Mars is still a goal, there is no timetable. Former astronauts, including Gene Cernan and Jim Lovell, are slamming the plan. In an open letter to President Obama, they urged him to drop this misguided proposal.
Transitions are always difficult.
But one administration advocate, Apollo 11's Buzz Aldrin, now pitted against his peers. He says Americans have already been to the moon.
Why has nobody been to the moon in such a long time?
That's not an 8-year-old's question. That's my question. I want to know, but I think I know. Because we didn't go there, and that's the way it happened. And if it didn't happen, it's nice to know why it didn't happen. So in the future, if we want to keep doing something, we need to know why something stopped in the past that we wanted to keep it going. Money is a good thing.
And the focus needs to shift.
People with patience, with an open mind and the willingness to listen would understand that this is a doable, exciting program.
The Obama administration says revamping the country's goals in space will create 2,500 new jobs, but not enough to match the 7,000 that will be lost when the space shuttle stops flying.
What if I told you that we have now spent $46 billion of your taxes on a project to study deep space? Okay, you would either say, hey, that's great, Sanchez. I want to know more about deep space. Or you might say, I could give a hoot about deep space. All right, keep the money here where we need it for our kids, our schools, and our roads. What you definitely should say is, okay, what did we get for that $46 billion? Good question. Because that's the question we asked ourselves here when we were having our editorial meeting this morning, and Michelle Greenstein's been assigned the distinction of finding out for us. Okay, what'd you find out?
All right, so here's the situation. For the past 15 years, NASA has been working on building this heavy lift vehicle that will take us to the moon and then on to Mars, and also on building the infrastructure between the Earth, the moon, and Mars. Now, this is a beautiful, beautiful goal, right? Sure. It truly is. But according to aerospace analyst Laura Forzik, who just put out a research paper that includes data from fiscal year 2019's budget, we've been spending about $4 billion annually on this program, and we're not really seeing the return. So I reached out to her. Let's see what she had to say about this.
Cool.
Argue that the main purpose of the big NASA heavy lift vehicle program for the human space exploration is to give us, as a country, a big goal to go towards.
So her take is that the real purpose of these programs, these space exploration programs, are symbolic, right? They give us a sense of national pride. They unite the country, like she said, like around this big giant goal. So we've spent, according to her research, $14 billion on the Space Launch System, $16 billion on the Orion capsule, which is what NASA says will take us to the moon, and then on to Mars. What do we have to show for it? Well, the Orion capsule did launch a few years ago, but without a crew, and this was a private launch, and the Space Launch System has yet to take flight. So in terms of crewed flights, we're probably not going to see this for a number of years in the future, and by that time, you know, we'll have spent 20 years on this program, but also close to $60 billion on this project that we seem to have already done in 1968. So I asked Laura Forzik about this. Let's see what she had to say.
You can't really say that what NASA is trying to do now is already done in the 60s, because the technology is different and the mission behind it, although similar, is different. So the Saturn V rocket was fantastic for its time, but it was limited. There's just an argument as to how much money should be spent on one way versus the other, or on one project versus the other.
The moon in a nanosecond. The problem is we don't have the technology to do that anymore. We used to, but we destroyed that technology, and it's a painful process to build it back again. The only limit to human future is in our own imagination.
But don't forget the musicians. Do not forget the musicians.
This is Inside the Music. I'm Brian Lauritsen. The Magic Flute is not only an opera that tells the story of love and trials, there's also a deeper meaning. Mozart intended the work to be a dramatic representation of a person's initiation into Freemasonry. And to learn more about it, I went to the Masonic Center in Santa Monica and spoke with former Grand Master of Masons in California, Stephen Doan.
This is known as Mozart's Masonic opera, written in the last year of his life, and he did something that he knew his Masonic brothers would attend, and that non-Masons would come out of curiosity for what the Masons were about. And he thinly disguised a Masonic initiation ceremony in this opera. So as part of the Masonic initiation ceremony at the time, the candidate goes through these 4 elemental tests: earth, water, air, fire, to prove to the brethren that they have the right balance of these 4. And of course we see these in the second act of the opera. Tamino's going through the initiatic process, and the first 2 are earth and air, and then he does fire and water subsequently.
So this opera is called The Magic Flute. I imagine there's quite a bit to unpack there.
Freemasonry is all about harmony. That's why geometry is the central symbol of Freemasonry, because geometry measures the harmony in the universe. There's a principle in theology, it's called hypostasis. We can never know the divine, we can only see the work of the divine. And because geometry measures the harmony in the universe, geometry therefore becomes the symbol of the creator of that harmony. That's the whole point of Freemasonry. That's really the whole point of this opera. And the Magic Flute conveys this sense of harmony. The flute is magical because the 4 elements are in balance. It's made from wood from the earth. It was made on a rainy night when there was water, and also thunder and lightning, which is fire. But then, most importantly, it takes someone to apply the breath, somebody who has the wisdom to play the music on the flute that will return harmony.
Authoritarian and totalitarian regimes continue to suppress Freemasonry, afraid of its strong heritage of liberty and equality.
It symbolizes the inevitability of your end.
The British Army had travelling lodges that moved with regiments. Freemasons have served their countries and communities with distinction.
Freemasons met across the Union and Confederate divide to celebrate their common rituals.
And today, Freemasonry remains an active part of military life in many countries.
Freemasonry has burned as a blazing fire through the last 3 centuries. The driving force behind the Royal Society was initiated into Freemasonry.
Prince Edward, Duke of Kent, father of Queen Victoria, and Prince Augustus, Duke of Sussex. The 2 princes brought their feuding Grand Lodges together and reconciled to be the United Grand Lodge of England.
Kings George IV, William IV, Edward VII, Edward VIII, and George VI were all Freemasons, as were 18 dukes and princes, including the Duke of Edinburgh.
This year, His Royal Highness Prince Edward, the Duke of Kent, celebrates his 50th year as Grand Master of the United Grand Lodge of England.
His Royal Highness was proposed into Freemasonry by the then Grand Master, the Earl of Scarborough.
He was initiated into Royal Alpha Lodge number 16, an advocate for the craft all over the world, continuing 3 centuries of distinguished royal tradition at the very heart of English Freemasonry.
To order, brethren, to receive the most worshipful, the Grand Master.
As permanent master of these 3 lodges, I now call on my deputy masters.
Most worshipful Grand Master.
Most worshipful Grand Master.
Most worshipful Grand Master.
Most worshipful Grand Master, I humbly ask you to complete the initiation of this worthy candidate for Freemasonry.
Adorn our ceremonies and forever remind us of our incomparable heritage, the birth of organized Freemasonry,
Stressing the deep and sincere loyalty and affection felt by the brethren of the United Grand Lodge of England for their Grand Master.
I had the pleasure of meeting 136 Grand Masters visiting from overseas at Freemasons Hall yesterday. Today, though, we are a meeting of more than 4,000 gathered from all around the world, from our own constitution and beyond. When the global Masonic family comes together to celebrate our past and to renew our own pride and confidence in and enthusiasm for Freemasonry.
I hereby read the text of a letter sent today to Buckingham Palace. May it please your Majesty, we, the representatives of over 200,000 Freemasons under the United Grand Lodge of England, most respectfully express our continuing loyalty to your Majesty's throne and person in this, the 66th year of your long and distinguished reign, of His Royal Highness the Duke of Kent, as our much loved and greatly respected Grand Master. We humbly thank God for preserving our order and fervently pray His blessings on your Majesty, so that our loyal devotion to your Majesty may long continue. Given at the Royal Albert Hall this 31st day of October, Anno Domini 2017. Her Majesty has been pleased to reply in the following terms. The Queen has asked me to thank you for your kind letter of loyal greetings on behalf of the representatives of the Freemasons under the United Grand Lodge of England, which are being celebrated on the 31st of October at the Royal Albert Hall. Her Majesty appreciated your thoughtfulness in writing as you did.
We leave the Royal Albert Hall even more proud of our ancient institution.
Worldwide, Freemasonry remains as important and relevant as ever. A global society of perhaps 6 million people.
As the globe embraced Freemasonry, enlightenment came.
I may not agree with what you say, but I shall defend to the death your right to say it.
None is more hopelessly enslaved than those who falsely believe they are free.
Coat of arms of Donald Trump. What does it actually represent?
Well, this is rather interesting, actually. This is arcane Scottish heraldic law providing evidence of Donald Trump's deep Anglophilia, I would say, and also touches upon the royal prerogative. There we have the double-headed eagle representing his Scottish Germanic heritage.
The Masonic CHIP program uses modern police-approved techniques to create a child identification kit.
And we take fingerprints. We also
provide them with a swab for getting a DNA swab, and we also provide them with imprint where they can get an imprint of the child's teeth. So not only does it provide DNA as well as a swab, but it is also a source if you were using tracking dogs to provide a scent for the child.
You may be surprised to see who we found using tricks to cover up their license plates.
Apparently, they're law enforcement.
You know, in Hollywood and in the industry and the stuff we do, there's a lot of like insider secrets to keeping your career going, and a lot of insider secrets to making things tick.
We know this will take trillions, not billions of dollars. We also know that countries, many of whom are burdened by growing levels of debt, simply cannot afford to go green. Here we need a vast military-style campaign to marshal the strength of the global private sector. With trillions at its disposal, far beyond global GDP, and with the greatest respect, beyond even the governments of the world's leaders, it offers the only real prospect of achieving fundamental economic transition.
These classrooms are laboratories for future generations. And while these new tools may potentially help some 200 million students raise their grades, just how this all works out won't be apparent until they become adult citizens.
Many of you missed your prom, sporting events, and celebration with your friends. But you were quick to find new ways to stay connected and active while remaining focused on finishing your education. You proved to the entire world that you can set your mind to something important, push through and succeed, showing all of us that you, our next generation, already possess the
The establishment and their media enablers wield control over this nation through means that are very well known. Anyone who challenges their control is deemed a sexist, a racist. The Clintons are criminals. Remember that. They're criminals. They will attack you. They will slander you. They will seek to destroy your career and your family. They will seek to destroy everything about you, including your reputation. This is well documented, and the establishment that protects them has engaged in a massive cover-up of widespread criminal activity at the State Department and the Clinton Foundation in order to keep the Clintons in power. Never in history have we seen such a cover-up, one that includes the total destruction of 33,000 emails. And so now we address the slander and libels that was just last night thrown at me by the Clinton machine and the New York Times and other media outlets as part of a concerted, coordinated, and vicious attack. I'm doing this for the people and for the movement, and we will take back this country for you, and we will make America great again. The corrupt establishment knows that we are a great threat to their criminal enterprise. But it all depends on whether we let the corrupt media decide our future, or whether we let the American people decide our future.
My name is Oliver Queen. After 5 years in hell, I returned home with only one goal: to save my city. For 8 years, I fought alongside brave men and women striving for justice. But then, a crisis came, and I had to become someone else. I had to become something else. I made the ultimate sacrifice, which helped birth an entirely new universe. Now my friends and family will have to go on without me. And although I have become a specter, there is a part of me that will always be the Green Arrow.
Time, effort, money that is being expended by Satan and his minions to implement his agenda.
A future that Ernest Cline, the writer of the book, envisioned. I was very careful with Ernie collaborating with me every step of the way to be able to find the movie narrative inside this dense forest of Ernie's profound imagination.
The Oasis being the ultimate toy box with all the toys in the world, and then playing that with one of the greatest filmmakers of all time. It results in just amazing action and such a fun adventure.
Ernest Cline is such a visionary, and I think has seen the future before any of us possibly could even imagine it.